Planning a family picnic. A story for English learners. Have you ever tried to organize the perfect family day out, only to watch your plans spiral into complete chaos? Well, you're about to hear the hilariously relatable story of the Johnson family's attempt at a simple picnic that turned into an unforgettable adventure. Stay tuned until the end to discover how this ordinary family handled extraordinary challenges. And don't forget to subscribe to Story-Driven English for more entertaining stories that will supercharge your English learning journey. The sun peeked through the curtains on Saturday morning, gently waking Sarah Johnson from her peaceful sleep. She stretched her arms above her head and smiled. Today was going to be perfect. After weeks of rain and everyone being stuck indoors, the weather forecast promised clear skies and warm temperatures. It was the ideal day for the family picnic she had been dreaming about. Sarah rolled over and nudged her husband, Tom, who was still snoring softly beside her. "Wake up, sleepyhead," she whispered. "Today's our big picnic day." Tom grunted and pulled the blanket over his head. "5 more minutes," he mumbled. Sarah laughed and got out of bed. She knew exactly how to get Tom moving. "I'm going to make coffee and pancakes," she called over her shoulder as she left the room. As expected, the mention of breakfast worked like magic. By the time she reached the kitchen, she could hear Tom shuffling out of bed. In the hallway, Sarah peeked into her children's rooms. 12-year-old Emma was already awake, headphones on, probably listening to her favorite music. 9-year-old Ben was still asleep, his room a mess of toys and books. And little Sophie, just 5 years old, was sitting up in bed, talking animatedly to her stuffed animals. "Good morning, my little sunshines," Sarah announced cheerfully as she opened each door. "Time to get up, we're going on our picnic today." The reactions were mixed. Emma rolled her eyes but smiled. Ben groaned and pulled his pillow over his head, much like his father, and Sophie jumped up and down on her bed with excitement. "Picnic day, picnic day," Sophie chanted, clapping her hands. In the kitchen, Sarah started making pancake batter while mentally going through her picnic checklist. Food, drinks, blankets, games, first aid kit. There was so much to prepare. Tom shuffled, in his hair sticking up in all directions, and headed straight for the coffee maker. "Morning," he yawned, pouring himself a steaming cup. "So, what's the plan for this picnic?" Sarah flipped a pancake with expert precision. "I thought we could go to Willow Creek Park. It's about an hour's drive, but they have that beautiful spot by the lake, and there's a playground for the kids." Tom nodded, taking a long sip of his coffee. "Sounds good. What time do you want to leave?" "I was thinking around 10, Sarah replied. "That would give us plenty of time to prepare everything and still arrive before lunch." Tom glanced at the kitchen clock. It was already 8:15 a.m. "We better get moving then," he said, suddenly more awake. By the time the children came downstairs, attracted by the delicious smell of pancakes, Sarah had already made a stack high enough to feed a small army. Sophie bounded into the kitchen with her favorite teddy bear, Mr. Whiskers, tucked under her arm. "Can Mr. Whiskers come to the picnic too?" she asked, her big blue eyes pleading. "Of course he can," Sarah smiled, setting a plate of pancakes in front of her. "But remember, he needs to stay clean. No mud baths for Mr. Whiskers today." Sophie nodded solemnly, hugging her bear tight. "I promise." Emma slid into her chair, phone in hand as usual. Mom, can I invite Lily to come with us? Please? Her parents are both working today and she'll be bored at home. Sarah exchanged a quick glance with Tom, who shrugged. I suppose that would be okay, Sarah said. But call her soon so she has time to get ready. Emma's face lit up. Thanks, Mom. She immediately started texting her best friend. Ben, still looking half asleep, poked at his pancakes. Do I have to go? He grumbled. Jason got a new video game and he invited me over to play. Yes, you have to go, Tom said firmly. Family. Time is important. Besides, I've packed the frisbee and your soccer ball. It'll be fun. Ben didn't look convinced but stopped arguing when Sarah drizzled extra maple syrup on his pancakes. After breakfast, the real chaos began. Sarah started preparing sandwiches while Tom was tasked with finding the picnic basket, which hadn't been used since last summer. The children were supposed to be getting dressed and packing a few toys and books for the trip. Has anyone seen the picnic blanket? Sarah called out, spreading peanut butter on bread slices. Check the garage, Tom shouted back from somewhere upstairs. Sarah was just finishing the last sandwich when Tom appeared in the kitchen looking puzzled. I can't find the picnic basket anywhere, he admitted. What do you mean? Should be in the storage closet, Sarah said, trying to keep her voice calm. Well, it's not there, Tom replied, scratching his head. I've looked everywhere. Sarah took a deep breath. Okay. We'll use the large tote bags instead. Can you check if we have enough ice packs for the cooler? As Tom rummaged through the freezer, Emma came into the kitchen, now fully dressed. Mom, Lily can come. Her mom is going to drop her off in 30 minutes. 30 minutes? Sarah glanced at the clock. It was already 9:20 a.m. Okay, that's fine. Please help me pack these sandwiches. Just then, a loud crash came from the living room, followed by Sophie's wail. Sarah rushed to find Sophie standing beside a broken vase, tears streaming down her face. I just wanted to pick a flower for Mr. Whiskers, she sobbed, pointing to the now flowerless plant next to the broken vase. Sarah sighed and knelt down to check if Sophie was hurt. It's okay, sweetie. No harm done. But please be more careful, okay? Now go upstairs and let Daddy help you get dressed for the picnic. As Sophie trudged upstairs, Ben zoomed past her, now fully awake and kicking his soccer ball inside the house, something he knew was against the rules. Ben! Outside with that ball, please, Sarah called after him. But it's part of my picnic stuff, he protested. Then put it in the car, not in the house, Sarah replied firmly. By 9:45 a.m., the kitchen counter was covered with food and supplies. Sarah had made tuna sandwiches, peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, packed carrots, celery sticks, apples, cookies, and a thermos of lemonade. Tom had found the cooler and filled it with ice packs, water bottles, and juice boxes. The doorbell rang. Lily had arrived. Emma squealed with delight and ran to greet her friend. The two girls immediately started chattering about school, friends, and the latest social media trends. All right, everyone, Tom announced. Time to load up the... Goody, Ben, can you carry this bag of sports equipment? Emma and Lily, take these tote bags with the blankets and books. I'll handle the cooler. Sarah picked up the food bags and her purse. Sophie, can you bring Mr. Whiskers and your little backpack? Sophie nodded proudly, happy to have an important job. Loading the car turned into another adventure. The Johnson family car A mid-sized SUV suddenly seemed too small for all their picnic supplies, and 5 people plus Emma's friend. Maybe we packed too much, Tom suggested, trying to fit the cooler into the trunk. Nonsense, Sarah replied. We need options. What if it gets cold? We need extra blankets. What if the kids get bored? We need games and books. After some creative arranging and rearranging, they finally managed to fit everything in. Tom closed the trunk with a triumphant smile, only for Sophie to announce, I need to use the bathroom. Sarah checked her watch. It was already 10:15 a.m. Quickly, sweetie, we're running late. While Sophie went back inside with Tom, Sarah realized she had forgotten to pack napkins and hand sanitizer. She rushed back to the kitchen to grab them. Finally, at 10:30 a.m., 30 minutes behind schedule, everyone was in the car and ready to go. Tom started the engine and was about to back out of the driveway when Ben shouted, Wait, I forgot my tablet. Ben, we agreed no electronics on this trip, Sarah reminded him. We're going to enjoy nature and each other's company. Ben slumped in his seat, looking thoroughly disappointed. As they drove out of their neighborhood, Sarah pulled out her phone to check the route to Willow Creek Park. Her face fell. Tom, there's a traffic alert. There's construction on the main highway we need to take. Tom frowned. How bad is it? It says to expect delays of 30 minutes or more, Sarah read. Maybe we should go to Pinecrest Park instead, Tom suggested. It's closer, and the kids love the playground there. Sarah bit her lip, reluctant to change plans. She had her heart set on the beautiful lake view at Willow Creek. Let's try the original route. Maybe the traffic won't be as bad as they say. Tom nodded, but he didn't look convinced. 20 minutes into their journey, they hit bumper-to-bumper traffic. The car came to a complete standstill. I told you we should have gone to Pinecrest, Tom muttered. It's not my fault there's construction, Sarah replied defensively. In the back seat, Sophie started getting restless. Are we there yet? She asked for the first time, but certainly not the last. Not yet, sweetie, Sarah said patiently. We're stuck in traffic, but we'll get there soon. Emma and Lily seemed oblivious to the delay, lost in their own conversation. Ben, however, was growing increasingly bored and started poking Sophie. Stop. Sophie whined. I'm not doing anything, Ben insisted, poking her again. Mom, Ben is poking me, Sophie cried. Ben, leave your sister alone, Sarah said firmly. Why don't you look out the window and see if you can spot any interesting birds? There are no birds, just cars, Ben grumbled. To distract the children, Sarah suggested playing I Spy. It worked for about 10 minutes before Ben declared it the most boring game ever invented. The traffic inched forward slowly. After what felt like an eternity but was actually 45 minutes, they finally passed the construction zone and could drive at a normal speed again. Now, are we there yet? Sophie asked again. Almost, Tom replied, even though they still had about 20 minutes to go. Just as the mood in the car was starting to improve, dark clouds appeared on the horizon. Sarah frowned. That wasn't in the forecast. Tom glanced up at the sky through the windshield. Maybe it'll pass. But as they got closer to Willow Creek Park, the clouds grew darker, and the first drops of rain began to hit the windshield. No, 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 Sarah murmured. This can't be happening. It's just a light shower, Tom said optimistically. It might stop by the time we get there. It didn't stop. In fact, by the time they pulled into the parking lot at Willow Creek Park, it was pouring. They sat in the car, watching the rain create puddles on the ground. "Well, this is just perfect," Sarah sighed, fighting back tears of frustration. "All her planning, all their packing, and now this." Sophie pressed her nose against the window. "Can Mr. Whiskers and I still go play?" "Not in this rain, sweetie," Tom explained gently. "So we drove all this way for nothing?" Ben complained. Sarah turned to look at her family's disappointed faces. This wasn't how she had pictured their perfect family day. She had imagined sunshine, laughter, playing games on the grass, and peaceful moments by the lake. Instead, they were trapped in a car while rain pounded on the roof. "I'm sorry, everyone," she said. "I guess we should head back home." But just as Tom was about to start the car again, Emma spoke up. "Wait, what about the picnic shelter? Doesn't this park have one of those covered areas with tables?" Sarah's eyes widened. "You're right, I completely forgot about that," Tom nodded. "It's on the other side of the park. We'd have to make a run for it with all our stuff, though." "I say we go for it," Sarah decided, her determination returning. "We didn't come all this way to give up now. Everyone grab something to carry and run as fast as you can to the shelter." The plan was chaotic but effective. Tom took the cooler and one of the tote bags. Sarah grabbed the food bags. Emma and Lily each took a tote bag with blankets. Ben was in charge of the sports bag, though he complained that the rain would ruin his soccer ball. And little Sophie clutched Mr. Whiskers tightly under her raincoat, which Sarah had thankfully packed, just in case. On the count of 3, they all burst out of the car and ran through the rain. Water splashed under their feet, and Sophie giggled as she jumped in a puddle. Despite their best efforts, they were all soaked by the time they reached the picnic. "Shelter! We made it!" Tom announced triumphantly, setting down the cooler. The picnic shelter wasn't exactly what Sarah had envisioned for their day. It was a simple wooden structure with 4 picnic tables, and they weren't alone. 2 other families had also sought refuge there. But it was dry, and that was what mattered most. They claimed one of the empty tables and started unpacking their food. The sandwiches were a bit squashed, and the paper napkins were damp, but everyone was suddenly starving after the unexpected exercise. As they ate their picnic lunch, listening to the rain drumming on the roof of the shelter, something magical happened. Ben discovered that another boy at the shelter had brought a deck of cards, and they began playing together. Emma and Lily made friends with a girl about their age, comparing rain boots and sharing stories. Sophie found a puddle just at the edge of the shelter where she could safely splash without getting too wet again. Tom wrapped an arm around Sarah's shoulders. "Not exactly what we planned, huh?" Sarah smiled, watching her children laugh and play. "No, but look at them. They're having fun anyway." The rain continued for another hour, but no one seemed to mind anymore. They played cards, shared food with the other families, and even started a group game of charades that had everyone laughing. When the rain finally stopped, the sun came out, creating a beautiful rainbow over the lake. "Rainbow, rainbow!" Sophie shouted excitedly, pointing at the sky. They all stepped out from under the shelter to admire it. The grass was wet, but the air smelled fresh and clean. Puddles reflected the blue sky, and birds started singing again. Can we go down to the lake now? Ben asked, his earlier reluctance about the picnic completely forgotten. I don't see why. Not, Tom said. The path might be muddy, though. That's what makes it an adventure, Emma declared, linking arms with Lily. They gathered their things and made their way down to the lake. As Sarah had hoped, it was beautiful, even more so after the rain, with water droplets glistening on every leaf and flower. They spread their blankets on a relatively dry spot under a big oak tree and spent the afternoon by the water. Ben and his new friend played a modified version of soccer that involved avoiding puddles. Emma and Lily collected pretty stones along the lakeshore. Sophie made a rain crown of wet flowers for Mr. Whiskers, who seemed to enjoy the outdoor adventure as much as she did. Tom stretched out on the blanket, looking up at the patches of blue sky visible through the oak tree's branches. You know what? This turned out to be a pretty great day after all. Sarah nodded, contentment washing over her. It really did. Not at all what I planned, but maybe even better. As the afternoon turned to early evening, they packed up their things, exchanged phone numbers with their new friends, and headed back to the car. Everyone was tired but happy, with muddy shoes and damp clothes but bright smiles. On the drive home, the car was much quieter. Sophie fell asleep clutching Mr. Whiskers, who now sported a slightly wilted flower crown. Ben was too tired to complain about anything. Even Emma and Lily's chatter had died down to occasional whispers. Should we stop for ice cream? Tom suggested as they neared their town. Yes, came the immediate chorus from the back seat. Apparently the children weren't too tired for that. They stopped at their favorite ice cream shop where they recounted the day's adventures to the friendly owner who had known the family for years. Sounds like you made quite a memory today, the ice cream shop owner commented as he scooped their favorite flavors. We sure did, Sarah agreed, watching her family happily enjoying their treats. Sometimes the best memories come from the most unexpected situations. By the time they arrived home, everyone was ready for showers and pajamas. The car was unpacked much less carefully than it had been packed that morning. Wet clothes were tossed into the laundry room. Muddy shoes were left by the door. The remaining food was hastily put away in the refrigerator. As Sarah tucked Sophie into bed later that night, the little girl hugged Mr. Whiskers close. The teddy bear had been carefully cleaned and dried after his big adventure. That was the best picnic ever, Sophie murmured sleepily. Can we go again tomorrow? Sarah laughed softly. Not tomorrow, sweetie, but we'll definitely go again soon. She kissed Sophie's forehead and turned off the light, leaving the door slightly ajar the way her youngest preferred. In the hallway, she met Tom, who had just finished saying goodnight to Ben. He's already asking if his new friend can come over. To play, Tom chuckled. They walked downstairs together to the living room, where they collapsed on the couch, exhausted but content. So, Tom said, taking Sarah's hand, would you call Operation Family Picnic a success or a failure? Sarah thought about it for a moment. The day had gone nothing like she had planned. They had hit traffic, been caught in the rain, and had to improvise at every turn. But they had also made new friends, discovered a beautiful rainbow, created memories, and most importantly, spent quality time together as a family. Definitely a success, she decided. Though next time, I'm checking 3 different weather forecasts. Before we leave, Tom laughed and squeezed her hand. That's my detail-oriented wife, always planning ahead. Well, someone has to in this family, she replied with a smile. Outside the window, the last light of day faded into a peaceful evening. The Johnson family's picnic adventure hadn't been perfect, but it had been real, full of challenges, laughter, and togetherness. And really, Sarah thought as she rested her head on Tom's shoulder, that was what family life was all about. Not perfect moments, but perfect memories created from imperfect days. As for Mr. Whiskers, he sat proudly on Sophie's bed, still wearing the remnants of his rainflower crown, a silent witness to the Johnson family's unforgettable picnic day. Wasn't that a heartwarming story about how even the most chaotic family outings can turn into the most cherished memories? If you enjoyed learning English with the Johnson family's picnic adventure, don't forget to like this video, share it with friends who are also learning English, and leave a comment below telling us about your own family picnic experiences. Remember to subscribe to Story-Driven English for more engaging stories that make learning English fun and natural. Click that notification bell so you never miss our new uploads. Until next time, keep learning and keep sharing your stories. Key vocabulary, repeated throughout. Picnic, an outing or occasion that involves taking a packed meal to be eaten outdoors. Forecast, a prediction of future events, especially weather conditions, supplies, materials, tools, or other items needed. For a particular purpose. Traffic, vehicles moving on a road or public highway. Shelter, a place giving temporary protection from bad weather or danger. Reluctant, unwilling and hesitant. Disinclined. Construction, the process of building or making something, especially roads or buildings. Chaos, complete disorder and confusion. Puddle, a small pool of liquid, especially of rainwater on the ground. Adventure, an unusual and exciting or daring experience. Rainbow, an arch of colors visible in the sky, caused by refraction of sunlight through rain. Soggy, thoroughly wet and soft. Improvise, create and perform spontaneously without preparation. Contentment, a state of happiness and satisfaction. Memory, something remembered from the past.